This is utterly lawless. This now approaches a banana republic lawlessness.
That was Charles Krauthammer on the special report the other day talking about the fixes, the continual fixes and patches and the lipstick they keep putting on that pig that we call Obamacare. Bret Baier is joining us now from Fox News. You were right there on the set when he said that. They keep changing the rules, Bret. They keep delaying certain parts of it, and then they try to put patches on it. At some point, it seems that it is really just about putting lipstick on what really is a pig.
Yeah, good morning, guys. I tell you, it's interesting. Yesterday, late in the day, you had this conference call, and HHS Secretary Sebelius gets on there after a day of being on the Hill the other day and says, you know, this deadline is the 23rd, but we would like insurers to extend it to the 31st, and then to be able to then provide that insurance for those folks on the 1st of the year, like turn it around that quickly. And then we'd also like insurers to accept the fact that people could see doctors in their old plans even though they were no longer in their new network.
Let me stop you there. That's because the president promised that if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Right. And that turned out not to be true.
Exactly.
But he's encouraging, but he doesn't really have the power of the law, right?
Or the authority. And so, you know, I mean, I don't know if insurers are going to go along with that. You can only imagine the chaos in the doctor's office if somebody comes in and says, wait a second, you know, the president said, the HHS secretary said, you know, what's happening here? I think there's going to be some level of confusion through January. I think we've gotten to that place where we can accept that.
Hey, Bret, this is Michael Steele. How you doing about it? It's good to hear you, man. The question I have is, and everyone's focusing on the president doesn't have the authority to do this. President, you know, is acting outside the Constitution or outside the law. Why hasn't a member of Congress or some of the others on the Hill brought legal action to actually push back against the White House or put in place a strategy to actually draw the president out on this issue? Is it a question legally of standing? Is it? I mean, what is this deadness when it comes to actually pushing back against the administration when it acts, you know, uber executive?
Yeah, that's a great point. There was a whole hearing the other day up on Capitol Hill on this very point. Peter King had a hearing. I think Turley was up there testifying.
Jonathan Turley, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, other professors and experts, and you know, I don't think it's moving, but you know, they talked about it, and you know, you make a good point. I think these regulations, you know, there's 20,000 of them, and now the newest one is about this new deadline. I think the question that everybody has is, if this thing starts to fall apart in early January, what is Plan B? And we asked it yesterday. Ed Henry posed the question yesterday, and they didn't want to answer it.
I don't know that they want to admit that there will be a need for a Plan B.
But I assume there has to be something in the works about they take some kind of subsidy money and cover the people who have fallen through the cracks, because there could potentially be hundreds of thousands, if not millions, who don't have coverage.
And when you say things like that, it is so frightening. So at what point can you make the case and actually affect change and say, look, it was a great idea, it's not working, let's do something different?
Right.
And then think about this. Let's, you know, all this talk about Republicans saying it's horrible, you got to repeal it, you got to get rid of it. Now, take me to unraveling it. Unravel Obamacare and get me from Obamacare to your alternative. Don't understand that there are a bunch of Republican alternatives, and despite what the president says, there are. but let's not even choose one of them. Let's just say you're going to choose one.
How do you do it?
Get me from point A to point B. What does that look like?
Right, and that's the mess. Because if you, as you know, I've said before, even if the Republicans, build on their majority in the House, they take the Senate in 14, and they get the White House in 16. When you get to 2017, after the inauguration of the Republican president, you're now 7 years into Obamacare. And probably at that point, almost 4 years into people actually getting in the system.
Implementation of it.
So
right.
how do you tell someone who has insurance for the first time in their life, guess what? We're taking it back from you. The unraveling is a real problem, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. And it's not, I think Republicans have got to come up with a plan for that. They've got to come up with a plan for, the people that are going to lose and gotten the letters,
right?
And how you're going to cover those people.
Well, you have a special tonight. Or do you get into some of this in your special?
Yeah, we do. We started the year covering the administration. Just we wanted to do an hour, kind of to see how politically the administration was going to do, and we started this kind of doc unit effort, and it just evolved, and the shutdown happened, and then we followed Ted Cruz and Mike Lee, and then we ended up being there at the rollout of the Obamacare website, and it's essentially a look at the year in crisis, and it's pretty fascinating, and it runs at 7 o'clock tonight.
Well, I can't wait, because when you do these things, I really think that you do a great service, because you're not going to get this anywhere else.
Right.
Well, let's be honest about it. Very quickly, Bret, the vote yesterday in the House on the budget compromise, were you surprised the vote was that strong?
I wasn't. I had inklings just from talking to people on the Hill that there were a lot of votes up.
What about the Senate?
Yeah, well, how's it play?
How's that going to play out?
I think that the people that we think are going to vote against it will, but it'll still pass overwhelmingly. I think that vote that Baier managed to pull out will send a signal over there that it's time to move on.
Well, I'll be tuned in tonight at 7 o'clock for Obama Breakdown, another one of your documentary. Really appreciate that you guys are taking the time to do that kind of stuff.
Okay.
All right, Bret, thank you very much.